I'm back. Like I said, stupid. Who knew storage would be such a big deal with all this new technology? Oh God, I'm not sure whether all this iPhone social media bullshit is good or bad. Anyways, I'm leaning towards bad anymore. But anyways, like I said, I was reviewing them when my video canceled out last time. Aquamoto Racing Utopia for the Switch just leaves. It's missing something. A flagship series for the Nintendo for a while there was Wave Race on the 64 and then on the GameCube. That's the ideal jet ski type of game, and it was amazing. And this just, it's missing something that Wave Race had, and I can't pinpoint it. Anyways, that's the end of that one. So next, we'll move into the one book I was able to finish recently, a new series called Max Tilt. This first book is called Fire the Depths. It's written by an author named Peter Larangis, whose Seven Wonders series I read and really enjoyed. So I thought this was kind of a no-brainer for me. So in it, there's a young boy named Maximilian Tilt. Wait a minute. I need to glare on my glasses. He's they never really say, but he's got something going on with him. I think he maybe has autism or something. He's like 13. He lives with his parents. His mom's really sick, and his dad has basically quit his job to care for her. So things are really stressful at home. They're really tight with money and stuff too. And then they tell him that they're going to have to travel to Minnesota to get her this experimental treatment that will hopefully heal her. So they leave him alone at home. And his cousin Alex from Canada comes down to watch him as she's taking a year off after school and has not much to do as she wants to write a book and stuff. So at first they're getting along isn't great, but they soon find a way to get along, and they discuss how they are both long-lost descendants of the author Jules Verne from way back when, who wrote, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Journey to the Center of the Earth, a whole bunch of other stuff. And so as she's caring for him, they get a letter in the mail saying the bank's going to foreclose on their house in 3 weeks. The power company's going to cut off the power. So they go around the house scrounging for things they can sell online to try and pay some of the bills and keep everything afloat. And in doing so, in the attic, they find kind of a shrine to Jules Verne that has a treasure chest in it and stuff. And within a secret compartment in the treasure chest, they find a note written by Jules Verne himself, hinting that, oh, all those stories I wrote, not stories. Actual fiction. I live them. And if you want to save the world and gain a great treasure for yourself, you can follow in my footsteps and do so. And so basically, Captain Nemo in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was a real bad man who had real bad plans for the world, and Jules Verne wanted to stop him. And so all these years later, Jules Verne's descendants are going to go on a journey that takes them kind of on a portion of the trip he took on in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and stop the descendants of Captain Nemo from still enacting their plan all these years later, which they never let go. And so the adventure plays out. These two kids find a way to get places and do things and put a stop to the plans of a mysterious stranger who ends up being a descendant of Captain Nemo. So really cool story. I love when they kind of work in new adventures on old stories, whether it be fictional or actual historical. So I really enjoyed this. As I really enjoyed Jules Verne, I've got a number of his books. So this was a no-brainer in a couple ways for me to read anyways. So that's that. Next, a bunch of movies. First up, and I'm going to go fast because I don't know how much storage I have left on here. Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. More Harry Potter. I love it. So this takes place not long after the first movie. And in the year 1927, the American Ministry of Magic is transporting Grindelwald to Europe to stand trial for all of his various crimes. He engineers an escape and is at loose, and it starts sending his forces out to do things and recruit people, and very subtly at first. But his main task is to recruit the young man Credence to his cause, who we met in the first movie, of course. In the meantime, Newt Scamander is doing his usual thing, caring for creatures, taking them in, studying them, making notes on them, and he soon goes to the British Ministry of Magic at his brother Theseus's begging, and has a meeting with some of the head honchos there about lifting his travel ban after his misadventures in the first movie. The only way they'll lift it is if he agrees to work for them, go to Paris, and track down Credence. He disagrees. He wants to work for no one. He's his own man. His brother Theseus is upset, and he goes back to his normal life. Not long after, he is Queenie and his friend Jacob show up at his doorstep, and he can tell something's wrong. Queenie has put a love spell on Jacob. Newt lifts it. They get in a fight. Queenie leaves. And then, but not long after that, Newt is approached by a young Albus Dumbledore saying, "Can you go to Paris and track down Credence?" So he does it for him, though. And the reason he does so is that Credence is rumored to be the long lost brother of Leda Lestrange, who is actually engaged to Newt's brother Credence, or Theseus, sorry. And he is reputed to be the only one to be able to kill Albus Dumbledore, a very powerful wizard. So obviously Grindelwald wants him for that reason. And Albus and Newt and those guys don't want Grindelwald to get his hands on him for that reason. So this adventure starts to track down Credence. Sorry, I got low battery warning here. God, I'm just a hot mess today. Anyways, so it's this kind of chase to track down Credence and for each side to recruit him to his cause. Along the way, Grindelwald recruits Queenie away from the good guys. We meet Nagini, who, as you know, is Voldemort's snake in the Harry Potter series and its origins, which is very cool. We get introduced to Nicholas Flamel, who we knew Dumbledore knew, who had the Philosopher's Stone in the first movie and was an alchemist who lived forever until he gave it up. And then in the end, we find out the true identity of Credence and who he actually is, which is another cool revelation. So I'm not going to give too much away in case you haven't seen it, but it's people have given these Fantastic Beasts movies, middling reviews, but I really like them. They're long and stuff, and they can be slow at times, but I like how they're kind of setting up events of the Harry Potter movies and kind of basing, because Dumbledore is such a key character in that, and Voldemort and all the evil that came before him that inspired him, right? So I think it's very cool. Anyways, moving along. Penguins of Madagascar. I found this at Giant Tiger for $4.99. I've never seen it before, but I wanted to get it because with James being in the original kids production of Madagascar in March break, being one of the penguins, we've taken a liking to the Penguins of Madagascar, of course. So in this movie, we see Skipper, Kowalski, who James played, and Rico as young penguins in the Arctic, and they're marching along with their fellow penguins when an egg goes rolling by, and they're like, "Oh, shouldn't somebody save that?" And the penguins are like, "We just march and do what we do. It's nature." And so they go, "We're not going to be like nature." And so they go after the egg, save it during a rollicking adventure. Private is hatched and joins their team. It skips ahead to more recent times after Madagascar 3 when they were in the circus and all that. I don't remember that one all that well. But the four penguins go to Fort Knox to raid a vending machine that has the precious cheese dibbles to give them to Private for his birthday. But they are abducted during this raid and taken to Venice, Italy, where they are this scientist named Octavius Brine is their captor, and he actually reveals that he is actually an octopus named Dave that's putting on this scientist front. And he's upset because every zoo he ever went to, when the penguins showed up, he was yesterday's news, and he got shipped off to the next zoo in line, and so on and so on and so on. So he has a beef with penguins, and his plan is to invent this ray that's going to turn all penguins in the world into these horrible creatures that nobody will love, and then all the other ugly animals like octopus or whatever will be loved again now that the penguins are out of the way. So the penguins engineer an escape attempt. They get out, and then they in turn are rescued by this organization called the North Wind that are led by a wolf, a polar bear, a seal, and an owl. They don't take the penguins and their abilities seriously, so they ship them off to their holding cell in Madagascar, of all places. And but of course the penguins escape from that, and then they go on a mission to stop Dave from fulfilling this plan. So they're kind of, as the movie unfolds, they're kind of up against the North Wind, who feel as though the Penguins are just getting in their way, as well as their enemy Dave. So it's just this kind of adventure to stop Dave and save penguins from all over the world who he is kidnapping in order to turn them into these hideous freaks. So awesome movie, so funny, and it's even more meaningful to us because we're pretty close with all 4 penguins from the original kids production that he was in. So it's kind of funny to imagine the kids that we knew play the kids in the play in place of the penguins in the movie, and imagine them having these adventures. So it was pretty funny. Next, Goon, Last of the Enforcers, the follow-up to the original Goon movie. Hilarious. In this film, pro hockey is having a lockout, so the Halifax Highlanders are the minor league team are going to be like, everybody's going to have their eyes on them, right? So Doug the Thug Glatt and his teammates are like, this is our chance to be noticed. Let's do it. So opening game of the season, a psychopath named Anders Kane on the Reading Wolf Dogs team challenges Doug to a fight. But before the fight starts, he cheap shots him with a headbutt. Doug never recovers. Anders beats him senseless. Doug is injured. He injures his right shoulder. Basically has to retire from hockey. Which his wife Eva isn't thrilled about, but it gives them a chance to settle down and be a proper family. Doubly so since she just found out that she's pregnant with their first child. So she gets him a job at an insurance company, but he can't take it. Doug can't take it. He wants to play hockey. So he goes to his old rival, Ross the Boss Ray, who he beat senseless in the first movie, and gets him to train to fight with his left hand instead, as well as just train him to be a better hockey player in general. So he's moonlighting in secret doing that and never around, and Eva's like, what is going on? And in the meantime, the owner of the Halifax Highlanders, Hiram Kane, Anders is his son,